Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji and Mataji, Dhanava Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Voice clear, na? Hare Krishna, Mataji, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam.
Yeah, Dhanava Pranam. Hare Krishna, Lavish Prabhu, Deepa Mataji.
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Dhanava Pranam, Mataji. Lavish Prabhu, read this one, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Today's quote by Srila Prabhupada. If you seriously hear and chant, seriously, yes, this life I shall engage only for increasing my love of Vasudeva. If you are determined, can be done. And as soon as you do this, you increase fully your love for Vasudeva. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Lecture contents 1976, Vrindavan. Seriously, only one point we need to take it from this quote is seriousness. We have to take, Bhakti, Krishna consciousness with serious attempts. That's where, Arthu Parthu, of course, Krishna consciousness is fully blissful process, but sincerely, seriously, we need to try. We need to try to hear and chant the holy names of the Lord, right? Mind always looks for easy ways. Seriousness, if that's where training the mind by showing our seriousness. Yeah. Thank you so much, Lavish Prabhu. With the Mangalacharana prayer, let us begin. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Putale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, entitled as, what is the entitlement of this chapter?
Dhyana.
We read up to this verse, right? To Raja Prabhu, till this verse, huh?
Yes, Prabhuji. 15th, till 15th.
Till 15, okay. Thank you. So let us begin 16. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. There is no possibility of one's becoming a yogi. O Arjuna, if one eats too much or eats too little, sleeps too much or does not sleep enough. Purport. Regulation of diet and sleep is recommended herein for the yogis. Sleeping habits and eating habits. Too much eating means eating more than is required to keep the body and soul together. There is no need for men to eat animals because there is an ample supply of grains, vegetables, fruits, and milk. Such simple foodstuffs is considered to be in the mode of goodness, according to the Bhagavad Gita. Animal food is for those in the mode of ignorance. Therefore, those who indulge in animal food, drinking, smoking, and eating food which is not first offered to Krishna will suffer sinful reactions because of eating only polluted things. Bhunjate tetva agham papa ye pachanti atma karanat. Anyone who eats for sense pleasure or cooks for himself not offering his food to Krishna eats only sin. That's a verse. It's from Bhagavad Gita only. Prabhupada quotes here. Bhunjate tva agham papa. Agham papa. Agham papa ye pachanti atma karanat. Eat only sin. One who eats sin and eats more than is allotted to him cannot execute perfect yoga. It is best that one eat only the remnants of foodstuff offered to Krishna. A person in Krishna consciousness does not eat anything which is not first offered to Krishna. Therefore, only the Krishna conscious person can attain perfection in yoga practice, nor can one who artificially abstains from eating, manufacturing his own personal process of fasting, practice yoga. The Krishna conscious person observes fasting as it is recommended in the scriptures. He does not fast or eat more than is required and is thus competent to perform yoga practice. One who eats more than required will dream very much while sleeping, and he must consequently sleep more than is required. One should not sleep more than 6 hours daily. One who sleeps more than 6 hours of 24 hours is certainly influenced by the mode of ignorance. A person in the mode of ignorance is lazy and prone to sleep a great deal. Such a person cannot perform yoga. Such person cannot perform yoga. So 3 things: sleeping habits, sleeping habits and eating habits. నేను తర్వాత మాట్లాడతా బాబు, ఓకేనా? కాల్లో ఉన్నా, నేను తర్వాత మాట్లాడతా. Sorry, Matas, please. I'm traveling. I'm in Karimnagar, so some work is there. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So here Prabhupada especially saying in this purport is writing, in the very long back, 55 years, 60 years back, to sense control, regulation in sleeping and habits and eating habits. Right.
Actually, I read this sloka when I was small, Prabhuji, because my childhood days, I used to go to Swadhyaya at that time. Bunjate te tvagam prapa praninam dehamachita prana prasanit e prasannatma karanat. That time, I remember this sloka.
Hari bol. Nice. So you have good inclination since the beginning of your childhood. Nice. Wonderful, Prabhu.
Our side, the Swadhyaya is like there, like ISKCON. There is Swadhyaya, Prabhuji. They will also teach Bhagavad Gita only.
Sorry, Prabhu. Roger, Prabhu. Yeah. That's nice. Since you have that Swadhyaya connections in the childhood and you read this verse and you see, that's a beauty, right? You quickly see reciting. You learned that, correct? Bhunjatetva agam papa ye pachanti atma karanat. One has to remember, without offering to Krishna, this has to, remember that eat only sin. So eat only sin. That's why, it's a part of our process. Everything we offer to Krishna and take it as a prasadam. Offered as a Krishna, when we offer to Krishna, it's called bhoga. When we take it, it's called prasad. Two differentiation. When we offer to Krishna, it's a bhoga. Everything is acknowledging to Krishna. The fruits, vegetables, grain, everything come from in this, earth, right? Is in his creation. So we are acknowledging to Krishna. So that's why it's a karma-free diet. Simple, we can understand. It's a karma-free diet. And it comes as a mercy, prasadam. Right. Remember that one. Yeah. So yeah, Deepa Mataji, please. And this is one of the important verse, Mataji and Prabhuji. Yeah. Please read sloka also.
Yeah. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranam. Yuktahara viharasya yuktachestasya karmasu yukta swapnavabodhasya yogo bhavati dukkhaha. He who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Extravagance in the matter of eating, sleeping, defending, and mating, which are demands of the body, can block advancement in the practice of yoga. As far as eating is concerned, it can be regulated only when one is practiced to take and accept prasadam, sanctified food. Lord Krishna is offered, according to the Bhagavad Gita 9.26, vegetables, flowers, fruits, grains, milk, etc. In this way, a person in Krishna consciousness becomes automatically trained not to accept food not meant for human consumption or not in the category of goodness. As far as sleeping is concerned, a Krishna conscious person is always alert in the discharge of his duties in Krishna consciousness, and therefore any unnecessary time spent sleeping is considered a great loss. Avyartha kalatvam. A Krishna conscious person cannot bear to pass a minute of his life without being engaged in the service of the Lord. Therefore, his sleeping is kept to a minimum. His ideal in this respect is Srila Rupa Goswami. His ideal in this respect is Srila Rupa Goswami, who was always engaged in the service of Krishna and who could not sleep more than 2 hours a day, and sometimes not even that. Thakur Haridas would not even accept prasadam nor even sleep for a moment without finishing his daily routine of chanting with his beads 300,000 names. As far as work is concerned, a Krishna conscious person does not do anything which is not connected with Krishna's interest, and thus his work is always regulated and is untainted by sense gratification. Since there is no question of sense gratification, there is no material leisure for a person in Krishna consciousness. And because he is regulated in all his work, speech, sleep, wakefulness, and all other bodily activities, there is no material misery for him. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. In this takeout point, avyartha kalatvam. Cannot waste a single moment. Everything, time is using properly. The Krishna conscious person cannot bear to pass a minute of his life without being engaged. Avyartha kalatvam. Here Rupa Goswami's example is given. Always engaged in the service of Krishna by writing, chanting, activities, all the activities. Right? Yeah. Thank you, Mataji. Yeah, Samyukta Mataji, please.
Krishna Prabhuji, one question here. So, is there any particular time we need to sleep or particular hours we need to sleep like that? Is there, Prabhuji? Like it depends on person to person or depends on age, like that age group, something like that.
See, Prabhu, our Veda says time also divided into 3 modes of material nature. Okay. Time, morning, early morning. That means after 12 to morning 8 o'clock. It's mode of goodness. Okay, early morning, midnight, of course. Okay. 12 to early morning, 8 o'clock. Morning, good mode of goodness hours. From 8 to 4 o'clock, a mode of passion. And 8 to 4. 8 to again 4. Again 4 to again night 12. Mode of ignorance. That's where sleeping. Another name of sleeping is ignorance. But it's okay. So normally in our devotional community, how maintain 6 hours? 6 hours, at least 7 hours. Normally when we go to bed, immediately we cannot sleep. As grihasthas, we have multiple things. Mind is engaged in some different thought process. We have to do our work and responsibilities there. 8 hours minimum, 6 to 8 hours in between, Prabhuji. So normally, see, the 2 statements, Prabhu, we regularly hear. Go to bed early, wake up early, right? So normally 9 to 10 is best time, 10:30 max, and wake up at 4 o'clock, 4:30 or 5 o'clock, and do that in 38 hours. You can plan like that, Prabhu. We can plan that. We all can plan that. Sometimes production call, sometimes that also important. So that's why at some point we have to practice regularly. So that's a Prabhu. Time, it's again depends, Prabhu, but recommended the why mode of goodness hours in the morning up to 8 o'clock, because it's a best suitable time for so the environment is peaceful, the weather is peaceful in the morning, right? Brahmamurta time. So we can experience that's where all the devotional activities perform in that time. Very good time. Mind there is no rule. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, anytime we can chant, no hard and fast rules. Recommended. There are 2 things, right? We can chant anytime, no problem. But recommended to chant in the that time. And how can we do that? by regulating our habits, sleeping habits, eating habits, right? So it will come over time, right? Yes, Prabhu. Is that okay? Raju Prabhu is audible. Okay, now?
Okay, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Right. Samyukta Mata, please go ahead. Great.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: when the yogi by practice of yoga disciplines his mental activities and becomes situated in transcendence, devoid of all material desires, he is said to be well established in yoga. Purport: the activities of the yogi are distinguished from those of an ordinary person by his characteristic cessation from all kinds of material desires, of which sex is the chief. A perfect yogi is so well disciplined in the activities of the mind that he can no longer be distributed by any kind of material desire. This perfectional stage can be automatically be attained by persons in Krishna consciousness as stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 9.4.18 to 20. Shall I read, Prabhuji? That,
ఇది పాట మాత, ఇది మీరు పాడండి. Very nice song.
okay, Prabhuji.
Actually, it's a sloka. Let me do it.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Savai mana Krishna padaravindayor vachamshi vaikunta gunana varnana karau harer mandira marjanadeshu shrutim chakarchuta satkatodaye mukunda lingalaya darshane drisho tadbrutya gatra sparshangan sangamam घ्राणं च तत्पाद सरोज सौरभे श्रीमत्तुलस्या रसनां तदार्पिते पादौ हरे क्षेत्र पदानुसर्पणे शिरो हृषिकेश पदाभिवन्दने कामं च दासेन तु काम कामया यतोत्तम श्लोक जना శ్రయారతిహి. అంబరీష్ మహారాజ్ ప్రేయర్స్ మాది బ్యూటిఫుల్. ఈ ఒక పాటలా మనం ఎన్నో పాటలు వింటాము, ఎన్నో మూవీ సాంగ్స్, భక్తి పాటలు వింటాం. ఇది ప్రాక్టీస్ చేయండి దయచేసి. వండర్ఫుల్ ప్రేయర్స్. ఇది అంబరీష్ మహారాజ్ ప్రేయర్స్. యూ కెన్ రీడ్ ట్రాన్స్లేషన్.
King Ambarisha first of all engaged his mind on the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Then one after another he engaged his words in describing the transcendental qualities of the Lord. His hands in mopping the temple of the Lord, his ears in hearing of the activities of the Lord, his eyes in seeing the transcendental forms of the Lord, his body in touching the bodies of the devotees, his sense of smell in smelling the scents of the lotus flowers offered to the Lord, his tongue in tasting the tulsi leaf offered at the lotus feet of the Lord, his legs in going to places of pilgrimage and the temple of the Lord, his head in offering obeisances up to the Lord, and his desires in executing the mission of the Lord. All these transcendental activities are quite befitting a pure devotee. This transcendental stage may be inexpressible subjectively by the followers of the impersonalist path, but it becomes very easy and practical for a person in Krishna consciousness, as is apparent in the above description of the engagements of Maharaja Ambarisha. Unless the mind is fixed on the lotus feet of the Lord, by constant remembrance, such transcendental engagements are not practical. In the devotional service of the Lord, therefore, these prescribed activities are called archana, or engaging all the senses in the service of the Lord. The senses and the mind require engagement. Simple abnegation is not practical. Therefore, for people in general, especially those who are not in the renounced order of life, transcendental engagement of the senses and the mind as described above is the perfect process for transcendental achievement, which is called yukta in Bhagavad Gita. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mother. Hare Krishna. Pretty straightforward translation purport. Prabhupada. Yeah. Yeah. Next, who is this? Sandhya Mataji is there? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah. Please read, Mataji.
Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. As a lamp in a windless place does not waver, so the transcendentalist, whose mind is controlled, remains always steady in his meditation on the transcendent self. Purport: a truly Krishna conscious person, always absorbed in the transcendence, in constant undisturbed meditation on his worshipable Lord, is as steady as a lamp in a windless place. Is it okay?
Yeah, you can read, Mataji. This one also, translation you can read. Purport will give it to other devotees.
Okay, okay. Translation. In the stage of perfection called trance or samadhi, one's mind is completely restrained from material mental activities by practice of yoga. This perfection is characterized by one's ability to see the self by the pure mind and to relish and rejoice in the self. In that joyous state, one is situated in boundless transcendental happiness, realized through transcendental senses. Established thus, one never departs from the truth, and upon gaining this, he thinks there is no greater gain. Being situated in such a position, one is never shaken, even in the midst of greatest difficulty. This indeed is actual freedom from all miseries arising from material contact.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Purport, yes. Lavish Prabhu, please read.
Hare Krishna. Purpose. By practice of yoga, one becomes gradually detached from material concepts. This is the primary characteristics of the yoga principle. And after this, one becomes situated in trance or samadhi, which means that the yogi realizes the supreme super soul through transcendental mind and intelligence, without any of the misgivings of identifying the self with the super soul. Yoga practice is more or less based on the principle of Patanjali system. Some unauthorized commentators try to identify the individual soul with the super soul, and the Munis think this to be liberation, but they do not understand the real purpose of the Patanjali system of yoga. There is an acceptance of transcendental pleasure in the Patanjali system, but the Munis do not accept this transcendental pleasure out of fear of jeopardizing the theory of oneness. The duality of knowledge and knower is not accepted by the non-dualists, but in this verse, transcendental pleasure realized through transcendental senses is accepted, and this is corroborated by Patanjali Muni, the famous exponent of the yoga system. The great sage declared in his Yoga Sutra 334, Purushartha Sunyanam Gunanam Pratiparashvara Kaivalyam Swarupa Pratishtha Va Chiti Shaktir Iti. This Chit Shakti or internal potency is transcendental. Purushakta. Hare Krishna.
Background आपका
Yes, Prabhuji, actually I am in train, so some noise is.
Somebody will give it to somebody. Yes. Akinchan Priya Prabhu, please read.
Hare Krishna.
No problem. Yeah. Yes.
From the highlighted one, Prabhuji.
The highlighted, yes.
So one second. Yeah, this Chitta Shakti or internal potency is a transcendental Purusha, means material religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and at the end, the attempt to become one with the Supreme. This oneness with the Supreme is called Kaivalyam by the Monists, but according to the Patanjali, the Kaivalyam is an internal or transcendental potency by which the living entity becomes aware of its constitutional position. In the words of Lord Chaitanya, this state of affairs is called Cheto Darpana Manjanam, or clearance of the impure mirror of the mind. The clearance is actually liberation, or Bhava Maha Davagni Nirvarpanam. The theory of Nirvana also preliminary corresponds with the principle. In the Bhagavatam 2.10.6, this is called Swarupena Vyavasthita. The Bhagavad Gita also confirms this situation in this verse. After Nivarana or the material cessation, there is the manifestation of spiritual activities or devotional activities to the Lord known as Krishna consciousness. In the words of Bhagavatam, Swarupena Vyavasthithi, this is the real life of the living entity. Maya or illusion is the condition of the spiritual life contained by the material infection. Liberation from the material infection does not mean the destruction of original eternal position of the living entity. Patanjali also accepts this by these words, Kaivalyam Swarupa Pratishtava Chitta Shakti Riti. The Chitta Shakti or transcendental pleasure is the real life. This is confirmed in Vedanta Sutra 1.1.12 as Anandamayo Abhyasat. This natural transcendental pleasure is the ultimate goal of yoga and is easily achieved by execution of devotional service or bhakti yoga. Bhakti yoga will be vividly described in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah. Anandamaya Abhyasat. We have to remember this one also. Anandamaya Abhyasat. Natural transcendental pleasure can be achieved by execution of devotional service, bhakti yoga. The soul's innate nature is to get the eternal happiness. So how can we do that? By devotional service. Anandamaya Abhyasat. Right? Yeah. Raju Prabhu, please read, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. In yoga system, as described in this chapter, there are two kinds of samadhi called Samprajanata Samadhi and Samprajanita Samadhi. When one becomes situated in the transcendental position by various philosophical researchers, he is said to have achieved Samprajanata Samadhi. In the Samprajanata Samadhi, there is no longer any connection with mundane pleasure, for one is then transcendental to all sort of happiness derived from the senses. When the yogi is once situated in the transcendental position, he is never shaken from it. Unless the yogi is able to reach this position, he is unsuccessful. Today's so-called yoga practice, which involves various sense pleasures, is contradictory. A yogi indulgent in sex and intoxication is a mockery. Even those yogis who are attracted by the siddhis, perfections in the process of yoga, are not perfectly situated. If yogis are attracted by products of yoga, then they cannot attain the stage of perfection. As is stated in this verse, persons therefore indulgent in the make show practice of gymnastic feats or siddhi should know that the aim of yoga is lost in that way. The best practice of yoga in this age of Krishna, in this age, is Krishna consciousness, which is not baffling. A Krishna conscious person is so happy in this occupation that he does not aspire after any other happiness. There are many impediments, especially in this age of hypocrisy, to practicing Hatha Yoga, Dhyana Yoga and Gnana Yoga, but there is no such problem in executing Karma Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. Can I continue?
Completely. You can complete this.
As long as the material body exists, one has to meet demands of the body, namely eating, sleeping, defending, and mating. But a person who is in pure Bhakti Yoga or Krishna consciousness does not arouse the sense while meeting the demands of the body. Rather, he accepts the bare necessities of life, making the best use of a bad bargain, and enjoys the transcendental happiness in Krishna consciousness. He is callous toward incidental occurrences such as accidents, disease, scarcity, and even the death of a most dear relative. But he is always allowed to execute his duties in Krishna consciousness or Bhakti Yoga. Accidents never deviate him from his duty. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 2.14, Agamapayo Nityas tam Shitya Bharata, he endures that all such incident occurrences because he knows that they come and go, do not affect his duties. In this way, he achieves the highest perfection in yoga practice. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Agama Payino Nityas Tam Titikshava Bharata. He endures all such incidental occurrences because he knows that they come and go, do not affect his duties. In this way, Samachittam, that is called another Sanskrit samachittam in both happiness and distress. Happiness and distress. This way, you achieve the highest perfection in yoga practice. Yeah. Bhakti yoga is addressing everything. Yeah, is addressing everything. Yeah, Aryan Prabhu, thank you so much for joining again. We were missed in previous calls. You can continue this first, Prabhu.
Yes, Roji Hare Krishna. Translation.
Okay.
One should engage oneself in the practice of yoga and with determination and faith, and not be deviated from the path. One should abandon without exception all material desires born of mental speculation, and thus control all the senses on all sides by the mind. Purport. The yoga practitioner should be determined and should patiently prosecute the practice without deviation. One should be sure of success at the end and pursue this course with great perseverance, not becoming discouraged if there is any delay in the attainment of success. Success is sure for the rigid practitioner. Regarding Bhakti Yoga, Rupa Goswami says, Uttasahan Nishchayad Dhairyat Tatat Karma Pravartanat Sangatyago Satovriti Sadbhir Bhakti Prasiddhyati. One can execute the process of Bhakti Yoga successfully with full-hearted enthusiasm, perseverance, and determination, by following the prescribed duties in the association of devotees and by engaging completely in activities of goodness. Upadesh Srimati 3. As of determination, one should follow the example of the sparrow who lost her eggs in the waves of the ocean. A sparrow laid her eggs on the shore of the ocean, but the big ocean carried away the eggs on its wave. Sparrow became very upset and asked the ocean to return her eggs. The ocean did not even consider her appeal, so the sparrow decided to dry up the ocean. She began to pick out the water in her small beak, and everyone laughed at her for her impossible determination. The news of her activity spread, and at last Garuda, the gigantic bird carrier of Lord Vishnu, heard it. He became compassionate toward his small sister bird, and so he came to see the sparrow. Garuda was very pleased by the determination of the small sparrow, and he promised to help. Thus Garuda at once asked the ocean to return her egg lest he himself take up the work of the sparrow. The ocean was frightened at this and returned the eggs. Thus the sparrow became happy by the grace of Garuda. Similarly, the practice of yoga, especially Bhakti Yoga and Krishna consciousness, may appear to be a very difficult job. But if anyone follows the principle with determination, the Lord will surely help. For God helps those who help themselves. Hare Krishna.
Clapping statement. So this one Prabhupada writes, read one more time, Prabhu.
Similarly, the practice of yoga, especially Bhakti Yoga and Krishna consciousness, may appear to be a very difficult job. But if anyone follows the principles with great determination, the Lord will surely help, for God helps those who help themselves.
Haribol, thank you so much. We'll conclude with this. So determination is needed. We have to determine to go back home. Go back home. Fill in the blanks quickly. We have to be determined in this very life. We have only one life. Of course, we may get different lifetimes, but our target, our goal, our fully determination, we need to go back home, back to
Godhead.
Who is that Godhead?
Krishna.
Right. Radha Krishna. We will eternally serve there. Their wonderful pastimes in Golak Vrindavana. Thank you so much for reading. Srila Prabhupada translated book reading ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha Krupa sindhubhyevacha Ananta Koti Vaishnavanda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada translated book reading ki jai. Nitai Gaura Hari Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Thank you. See you all tomorrow. Have a happy Krishna conscious